High in the Andes Mountains, a storm raged. October 13th, 1972. The sky was dark, clouds swirling ominously, and the wind howled through the peaks. Flight 571, carrying a Uruguayan rugby team, slammed into the mountainside. Metal shrieked, snow swirled. The impact was devastating, tearing the plane apart and scattering debris across the snow-covered landscape. The world turned upside down. Chaos reigned as the passengers struggled to comprehend the disaster that had just unfolded. Miraculously, some survived the impact. They emerged from the wreckage, dazed and injured, but alive. They were alive, but stranded in a frozen wasteland. The vast, icy expanse stretched out before them, offering no immediate hope of rescue. The air was thin, the cold brutal. Each breath was a struggle, and the biting wind cut through their clothing. Their ordeal was just beginning. With limited supplies and no way to communicate with the outside world, they had to rely on their wits and each other to survive. This was no ordinary plane crash. The remote location and harsh conditions made their situation even more dire. This was the Andes, remote, unforgiving. The towering peaks and deep valleys created a formidable barrier between the survivors and any hope of rescue. Their fight for survival was about to test the limits of human endurance. They would face unimaginable challenges, pushing their physical and mental limits to the brink. The crash site was a scene of chaos. Wreckage littered the snow, twisted metal and shattered glass scattered across the white expanse. The once mighty plane now lay in ruins, a stark contrast to the serene snow-covered mountains. The injured cried out for help, their voices echoing through the desolate landscape. Desperation was etched on their faces as they called out, hoping against hope for a rescue that seemed impossibly far away. The survivors huddled together for warmth, their breath frosting in the frigid air. They clung to each other, sharing body heat in a desperate attempt to stave off the biting cold that threatened to claim them. They were miles from civilization, surrounded by towering peaks that seemed to mock their plight. The isolation was suffocating, the vast expanse of snow and ice a constant reminder of their dire situation. The cold was relentless, seeping into their bones and numbing their senses. Frostbite began to set in, turning fingers and toes a sickly white. Every breath was a struggle, the air so cold it burned their lungs. Hunger gnawed at their empty stomachs. Fear cast long shadows over their hearts. The lack of food was a constant torment, their bodies weakening with each passing day. They had meager rations, quickly dwindling. Each morsel was carefully rationed, but it was never enough. The fear of starvation loomed large, a grim specter that haunted their every waking moment. They melted snow for water, their only source of hydration. The process was slow and laborious, but it was their lifeline. Without it, they would have perished in the unforgiving cold. Each day brought new challenges, each night a battle against the cold. The harsh conditions tested their resolve, but they clung to hope, determined to survive against all odds. The will to live is a powerful force. The survivors used the plane's wreckage for shelter, fashioning makeshift tents to shield themselves from the elements. They tore seats apart, using the cushions for insulation. They rationed their food carefully, making it last as long as possible. Every scrap mattered. Every crumb held precious calories. But hope, like their supplies, slowly dwindled. Days turned into weeks. Hope began to fade. The harsh reality of their situation set in. They were trapped, alone, facing impossible odds. Starvation gnawed at their bellies, a relentless hunger that consumed their every thought and sapped their strength. Weakness spread through the survivors like a plague, leaving them barely able to move, their bodies trembling with fatigue. They faced a horrific choice: die slowly from hunger or consume the flesh of the deceased. The weight of this decision hung heavy in the air, a grim reality they could not escape. It was a decision born of desperation, a taboo shattered by necessity. The act of consuming human flesh, once unthinkable, now seemed like the only way to survive. Their humanity recoiled at the thought, but their primal instinct to survive was stronger. Each bite was a battle between their conscience and their need to live. The flesh provided crucial sustenance, a grim lifeline in their fight for life. It was nourishment that kept their bodies from succumbing to the relentless hunger. This act, unimaginable under normal circumstances, became their reality. The silence as they ate was filled with unspoken horror and reluctant acceptance. It was a testament to their will to live, a stark reminder of the extremes human beings can endure. Their resolve to survive, despite the cost, was a powerful statement of human resilience.